A lot of people talk about Roth conversions like they're automatic wins, especially in those years before Social Security or the years before required minimum distributions kick in. And look, conversions can be a powerful tool, but they're not right for everybody. And they're definitely not right in every situation. So today I want to walk through 6 scenarios where converting to a Roth actually might not make sense and could potentially create more risk than benefit. And that's even during that so-called golden window before those specific milestones. And the reason is the goal isn't necessarily to optimize every last dollar that comes across your path. The goal is to protect what you've already built and make sure you're not creating problems that you didn't need to have. So let's start with number one. The first reason not to do a Roth conversion in retirement is that you'd have to sell investments in a down market to pay the tax. Here's the thing people forget. A Roth conversion creates a real tax bill that has to get paid with real money. If your portfolio is down and that's the only means of paying these taxes that you'll owe is by selling shares, you'd have to sell at a loss just to cover the tax bill. And in that case, you're permanently depleting the value of your assets to fund what amounts to a theoretical future benefit. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, to lock in losses to pay taxes. So the conversion may even still look good on a spreadsheet, but in the real world, you potentially just made your situation worse than it needed to be. Reason number two not to do a conversion in retirement is that you're planning on taking Social Security. So if you're thinking about taking Social Security before full retirement age, maybe you're 62 or 63, a big Roth conversion can create a trap you didn't see coming. So that conversion could potentially trigger income tax on your Social Security benefit of up to 85% of your benefit becoming taxable just because of that conversion. Now, if you didn't know that was going to happen and you were otherwise not going to be paying tax on Social Security, now you're paying tax on the conversion and paying tax on Social Security that you didn't expect. If early Social Security is part of your plan, you need to be very careful about your conversion timing and the size of the conversions you do. Reason number three not to do a conversion is you need access to that money soon. Roth conversions come with a 5-year rule that can complicate access to your money. Now, if you're over 59 and a half, it's not quite as big of a deal. You won't have a 10% penalty for early withdrawal. But if your that Roth IRA itself hasn't been opened and funded for 5 years, you could still owe taxes on the earnings when you pull the money out. And if you're under 59 and a half, each conversion has its own 5-year clock. So pulling out converted money before that clock expires could cause you to pay a 10% penalty on top of any taxes if you're under 59 and a half. So the point is that conversions can tie up liquidity in ways people don't really think through. So if you might need that money for something in the near future, that matters, and it's something you have to pay attention to. Reason number four. Now, this one's a little uncomfortable to think about, but reason number four would be if your spouse would be in a much lower tax bracket if you die first. Now, there's some nuance to this one. But if you're married and your spouse would say drop into the 12% tax bracket when you're gone, maybe because Social Security drops and a pension goes away, well, then converting it in the 22 or 24% bracket might not make sense. They might never hit the high brackets that you're trying to avoid, and you just prepaid tax at a higher rate. So we have to pay attention to this because in a lot of situations, it's likely that that single spouse is now going to move to single tax rates, which brings a whole nother can of worms there. But that is one reason, if you're fairly certain that that would be the case, one reason not to do a conversion. And reason 5 not to do a conversion is if you're charitably inclined and want to use qualified charitable distributions later. If giving to charity is part of your plan, traditional IRAs give you a huge advantage at starting at age 70 and a half. So these qualified charitable distributions let you send up to $105,000 a year directly from your IRA to charity. The beauty is that money satisfies your required minimum distribution, and it's not included in your taxable income, and the charity gets the full amount. But once you convert that money to a Roth, you've eliminated that option. Roth IRAs don't have RMDs, and you can't do QCDs from them. So if charity matters to you, keeping the money in the traditional IRA might be a better long-term move because you can avoid paying tax on that altogether. And reason 6, not to do a conversion if you're already concerned about IRMA, the Medicare surcharges. So IRMA is the income-related monthly adjustment amount, and that's the surcharge that you pay on your Medicare if your income's too high. So here's the kicker. It's based on your income from 2 years ago. So if you do a big Roth conversion in 2025, your Medicare premiums go up in 2027. You might pay an extra $200, $300, even $500 more per month for a year per person if you're married. And that's real money coming out of your cash flow, and it might completely offset the benefit of the conversion. So if you're already near an IRMA bracket or a IRMA threshold, and if Medicare costs are a concern to you, conversions need to be small and strategic, or maybe even skipped entirely. So look, Roth conversions can absolutely make sense, but only when they fit your situation. If any of these scenarios apply to you, saying no to a conversion is probably not leaving money on the table. It's protecting what you've worked for and avoided problems you don't need to create. But this isn't hard, fast rule. If these situations apply to you, conversions still could be a good option, but that requires further investigation. So if you have questions about whether Roth conversions make sense for you, that's something that we help our clients think through all the time. You can reach out through the link in our description. Other than that, I hope this video has been helpful. Have a great day.